Hello and welcome to the 5th entry in the Legend of Zelda Marathon, where I review every home console release of The Legend of Zelda. In this video, we'll be looking at the cult classic, Majora's Mask. What makes a video game good? Is it the sales numbers, the length, the graphics? If you go by any of those metrics, Majora's Mask is one of the worst Zelda games in the series. But I would argue, video games should not be judged on those face values, but on how good the elements of the game actually are. In that respect, I consider Majora's Mask to be the best Zelda game in the series. Sure, it certainly isn't without its flaws. It's plagued by horrible frame rate and graphics that seem to get worse as time goes by. Despite those issues, Majora's Mask excels in terms of the experience. The atmosphere this game provides is near perfect, and the gameplay is superb. But for this video, I'll mainly focus on the former of these two elements, as the latter is very similar to the previous game in the series, Ocarina of Time. I brought up tone in the last video, and praised Ocarina of Time's amazing application of it. But if it's a contest, Majora's Mask obliterates that element in every regard. The game takes place in a world called Termina. This is the first Zelda game to take place out of Hyrule, which, don't get me wrong, is an amazing setting filled with life and excitement, but Termina is a lot more unique. Although it's not a bad place, it's less cheerful and has a lot more things that could be considered depressing, or even creepy at times. In the story of this game, the moon is set to crash into Termina in 3 days, which takes about an hour of real time. You play as the same character you did in Ocarina, but it takes place a while after the end of that game. You may not be able to stop the moon on the first 3-day cycle, but you gain the ability to reverse time and do the same 3 days over again. This forces the player to learn about Termina, and even memorize the schedules of some of the characters if they want to get all of the collectible masks. That mechanic is a great example of gameplay mechanics having atmospheric effects. For instance, the final minutes before the moon crashes into the earth makes my skin crawl, not only because of the lighting and music, but because it's tense from a gameplay sense, as you have to get whatever you're doing done before the loop restarts. You keep all of the key items between time loops though, so you have to beat the game's 5 dungeons throughout the course of many different cycles. Each dungeon in this game usually took me about 3 or 4 cycles, but somebody who's actually good at video games could probably beat them in 2 or 3. This adds a 4th dimension to the dungeons, which easily helps satisfy that itch many players had for winding and complex dungeon. Another mechanic that weaves into the tone is the masks. These items allow you to transform into the Deku, Gorons, and Zoras of the last game. Each mask has unique abilities. The Goron mask allows you to roll very fast and punch very hard, for example. The masks are physical forms of spirits you meet throughout the game. Each of these spirits has a unique story, and learning their story is always a treat in this game. Although that description may make the game sound like a horror game, it's actually very uplifting at times. It never goes into full-on horror territory, so don't be afraid to give it a chance. One of the game's elements that is really haunting though is the music, which is easily the best in the series so far. I know I mentioned this series' music a lot, but Koji Kondo really nails it in this game. The songs are far less catchy and hummable, but they serve to make each location have a distinct feel. Speaking of the music, the ocarina also returns, but it's a little less important than last time. Songs are now mostly used for resetting, slowing down, or speeding up the 3-day loop. Those spells are extremely useful for events that have to be done at certain times of the cycle. And those events are very fun. Some of them are strange and funny, very, very strange sometimes, while others attempt to tell a story and develop some of the characters of Termina. All of these side quests are optional though, so you can skip them if you want to. They only reward you with optional masks that help make some other areas easier. While I'm on the difficulty, there's something here worth mentioning. The difficulty has not been reduced per se. In fact, it's probably been increased, but it's a lot less cryptic, and all side quests have been streamlined to get rid of the frustrating elements. I'm looking at you, PoQuest. This allows you to focus on the amazing world Nintendo constructed. Speaking of the world, it's very odd, delving into surrealism and even sci-fi at times, which leads me into the story. Rather than the cliche but exciting stories of Zelda's past, this game has a story with much smaller stakes. Termina is even theorized to be a dream world or alternate reality to Hyrule. Some of the characters are echoes of Ocarina's people, allowing you to learn more about these formerly shallow characters. So in conclusion, Majora's Mask is a short but amazing title in the Legend of Zelda franchise. I recommend it to anybody who likes this style of game or video games in general. I can guarantee this game is a journey you will not soon forget, and it's easily the best game in the franchise so far. Please play this game. It's available on N64, GameCube, Wii, and there's even a 3DS remake. If you do own any of those consoles, you should give this title a shot. I'm sorry if this video came off as a little more serious than normal, but I wanted to get through to you how amazing the game is. If you liked the video, click the subscribe button for more content like it. If you know somebody that might like it, also click the share button. Next month's video will be on a game very different to this one, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.